see you. Go ahead, go and flex on all these people. Girl, you bad, I need everyone to see you. Go ahead, go and flex on all these people.
Hello. Oh, there's music. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Beyond the Surface with Sharen. I am your host, Sharen. So thank you all for tuning in. Come on in the room, y'all. I need y'all to come on in here. We are doing episode number 22 on part two of grief. We did grief last week, and we had the amazing, when I tell you, she gave us some tools to use. We had Kippie on here, Kippie Langford, and she is the CEO of Intentional Transitions LLC. So yes, she is back here with us. So if you were here last week, you know that the impact that grief has on our bodies. We talked about that, but welcome our new viewers. Welcome our returning viewers who are here. We're going to give us a little time to come on. Give my folks some time to check in wherever you are. But welcome to Beyond the Surface podcast with Sharen, where we are encouraging, empowering, enlightening, and informing you with topics that are relevant to our community. We are here as a vessel of God, and all glory goes to Him, because without Him, none of this would be possible. So when you come on, hey, I see people coming on. Say hi. Y'all know the rules. Say hi to me. Say hi. Let me see you. Hey, Rosemary. Hi. Yeah. Say hi. So yeah, we are here for episode 2. You know, grief affects us all. Everyone has a grief story. So we're going to talk about, last week we talked about how it affected our bodies, and it was so amazing. Like, I got so many phone calls about how people had to sit, like literally sit in their feelings about grief. They wanted to sit and like absorb and acknowledge. Acknowledging grief is good. I got something to ask Kippie, because child, the one time. So I'll tell my story while y'all coming on here. Come on in the room. So the one time I was at a funeral, right, for someone, and I was very sad, and I could not cry. So I don't know what that was with the grief that wouldn't let me cry at a funeral. Sad, like wanted to have tears, but the tears would not come. I don't know what happened. I know that's one of those traumas, one of my griefs. So yeah, I know you're going to tell me what it is, Sensei. So yes, thank you all for tuning in. Thank you for coming on. When you come on, say hi to your host. I am your host. We are doing part 2 of grief. What's this topic is when grief lingers, dealing with chronic grief, cumulative grief, and traumatic grief. So we are going to talk about those today. Chronic grief, cumulative grief, and traumatic grief. So yes. When you are on here, come on in the room and say hi. We don't want to prolong your time. And if you can you share, like, subscribe? Thank you for liking, subscribing. Thank you for watching. And if you would like to, you can go back and watch previous episodes of Beyond the Surface with Sharen, where we talked about, we had a therapist on. Reverend Nikki talked about purpose and faith and assignment. Honey, if you want to start somewhere, episode 1 is where you need to be. Assignment. She got us together with the assignment, with our assignment. Like, she was amazing. You already know. Ignite. November 16th through the 18th. Be there. Yes. Oh, hey, Millie. Oh, my girl Millie's on. The masseuse. You guys were here for Millie. She was here 2 weeks ago for episode number 20. She has an amazing story. So if you want to go watch episode 20, Dr. Roscoe was here, and she's a masseuse. She has amazing blessed hands. So yes, go find her. Episode number 20, please. Our guest today had journaling. So episode number 7 was journaling, sand, and hold up, go back up. There was journaling, sunset, and sand. So we had Kippie Langford here, and she did Journaling Sunset and Sandy. She told us how to, a lot of feelings we're talking about at the journaling. So yes, she's at number 7. What else did we talk about? We had some Transitional Thursdays where we had people who came on talking about their life changes. But tonight, we are talking about grief. When grief lingers, dealing with chronic grief. You guys know these different griefs? I really never knew there were types of griefs, different griefs. I just knew there were stages of griefs, but I wasn't very particularly sure which ones I was in. I was probably to sit on the grief, and that was it in my feelings. Yes. Oh, Millie tagging everybody, baby. Bring everybody in the room, honey. Thank you. Yes. So, in the news. I've been watching the news. So last week we talked about the longshoremen. Yes. Did y'all know while we were on air that the longshoremen signed their contract? I think they got $60 an hour or something like that, which was amazing. So 62% raise? Yes. So a 62% raise is I think they went from $30 to $60 something, right?
Something like that. Yeah, I think they're making $40 and they went to $64 an hour now, which they deserve. It's hard work out there.
You said they went to what?
To
$64 an hour. And they're bringing those crates in and off those cargo ships. So, they're doing a lot.
We need them.
We definitely need them. What else is going on in the news, Mr. Colson? There is basketball. There's basketball tonight, so there's
WNBA
is tonight. I think it is. Because I got notes here. It's the New York versus Minnesota. Game 1 tonight. Also, there's Thursday night football on tonight too.
Oh yeah.
San Francisco.
That. 49ers tonight.
49ers.
I don't know who they play though.
I don't know. I'm not rooting for no 49ers. Eagles. 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 This month is it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So we are acknowledging that. We are also acknowledging National Hispanic Heritage Month.
Okay.
Did you know that was a thing?
Yeah, I see it on the news. They're doing a lot of celebration everywhere.
Correct. No 49ers. Boo. It is September 15th through October 15th. So to all my Latinas and my Hispanic family, happy National Hispanic Heritage Month.
Yeah.
Congratulations to y'all. Yes, I don't know why the month is in the middle though. You get the month, but it's a little bit of September and a little bit of October. If y'all know, put it in the comments, because I'm already curious why they split the month and they don't give you February like we have February. I don't know. You know that, Iris? You're welcome, boo. Somebody said, San Fran, let's go. Sing. Okay. Oh, Puerto Rico. Oh, listen, you know that one song come on and I'll be like, Wepa. What does Wepa mean? Does that mean congratulations? What did you say, Kippie? It said, Wepa. What does Wepa mean? Can y'all tell me what Wepa means in the comments? My Hispanic folks. I yell it out. I hope it's not a curse word, but I do say it.
So they're playing the Seahawks tonight.
Oh, so they're playing the Seahawks.
Boo. Takes them out.
Yes. October is also Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and our hearts are with all those. Oh, it means go, 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 go. I don't know. Well, that's good then. It's not a curse word. Okay. It's not a curse word. Did you know that? Okay. I know. I be yelling it, but I see all my Puerto Rican people be yelling "Wepa" too. So I thought it was always a congratulations, you on the floor, and they're doing it while they're it's a hype word. Okay. All right.
Okay. We're learning something.
That's good.
We're learning something. We're learning our heritage.
That's your heritage?
Yeah, Hispanic heritage.
Yes. Now he does. Let me tell you, he loves some rice and beans.
Watch it now.
You do. Yeah, I do. He's a frequent flyer of bodegas where the Puerto Rican food is sold, and he'll go in here and get him some rice and beans, some pork.
The prices are crazy.
And they give you so much rice.
For $5 or $7.
So we are
chicken.
He said chicken. Yes. We go in there and I'll order the thing of rice, the crate. I don't want to call it a crate, a platter of rice. And it's they'll give you another tub of like meat, then they'll give you another tub of pork. So it's a lot to do over there, especially if family's coming over. I don't know. Does anyone know why we eat so much Spanish rice at like Black events? I know we're all intermingled and they're Black folks too and all of that. I'm just, just the thing. It's too much. It has sugar. What has sugar? Rice? What? The Spanish rice has sugar? Maybe. What do you worry about that sugar?
Maybe that's what I'm addicted
By
to.
the time you're eating that rice and beans and pork chops and fried chicken, you can't count the sugar. It's too late. You've already invested it. It's too late for you. What else is October? October is National Mental Health Awareness and National Depression and Mental Health Screening Month. So if you can, we're all about therapy. So go to your doctors. Get your screenings done. Next week, we have a mammographer here. So we are going to talk about tatas, right? We're going to talk about his breast. Your birthday's in October. Oh, yes, my Scorpio sister. So yes, next week we're going to talk about mammograms. So I want you all to tune in next week. Whether you've had one, whether you have not had one, bring your children, especially bring your daughters. We're going to talk about the proper way to do a breast exam. So we have a mammographer coming on, and she's been doing it for like a few decades. So yes, she is definitely going to get us together. So if you guys are tuning in, say hi. I don't see y'all saying hi. Where you at? Say hi. Let's see what's going on with your folks. What are you guys thankful for? Let's do that. Let's say one thankful thing. What are you thankful for? Put something in the comments that you're thankful for today. Today, what am I thankful for? I am thankful for family. I think that's good. I'm thankful for family. Put it in the comments. I'm thankful for family because, we've had a lot of people leaving this earth. And a few of them have been my family. So I am thankful to still, I know the old people say at the church house, I'm still thankful to be amongst the land of the living. But that is really a thing. Like I used to be like, I know it was like their spiel when they get up and do testimony service, but it really is I'm thankful for being here. Like my life, health, and strength. I get it. So I just, peace of mind. Thankful for life, health, and peace of mind. Amen. Let me see. People in my life. I love that. Thankful for life and health. Amen. Thankful for God. Thankful for my life. Thankful for my wife. Thankful for you and your husband.
Yes.
Oh, thank you.
I'm thankful for you too.
Thank
honey.
you. Thank you. Thankful that I woke up. Thankful for life. So I'm glad a lot of people are thankful. Thankful. Just the attitude of gratitude, right? That's how we have to live right now because there's so much going on in the world that we have to be thankful. So yes, where can we go? Thank you guys for watching. This is Beyond the Surface with Sharen. I'm your host, Sharen. And today we're talking about when grief lingers. Last week we talked about the impact of grief on our bodies. So this week we are talking about chronic grief, cumulative grief, and traumatic grief. So, as Christians, we kind of like those who are Christians. We kind of like, hold that grief in and be like, God's going to heal us and he's going to make it all right. But we don't take the steps to deal and heal to make that thing all right. So we kind of like, I'm a brusher offer, hey, Miss Rita. She said, having a life in Christ. Amen. Because God is the greatest. Because God is the greatest power.
We talked about last week's show. Last week's show was so powerful. I mean, I spoke about it this week to a lot of people.
You did?
And I was telling them, because I didn't know that, it gets trapped in your body. And
I didn't know that either.
It's like a form of it's like stress. And that's very stressful. I went through a lot. I mean, while I was listening to the show myself, I was actually enjoying it myself because, I went through, I just lost my mother and my brother and it was so hard. I'm still dealing with it. Like it's so fresh to me.
Yes.
Kippie was such a blessing last week, and I wanted to go over those 5 stages again and just some things from before because it was trapped traumas, the healing hearts, the grief coping.
How about the trapped trauma that you talked about? Like that was like a newfound revelation for me. That trauma is trapped in our body. I never knew that. Like, I had no idea. Also, being triggered is not always a bad thing. You know, people say triggered and they be like, I'm triggered, you're triggering me, and it's terrible. So triggered is like not a bad thing because it acknowledges that there needs some more healing. But I'm not the therapist, right, y'all? I am not the therapist. But what I do have is a professional on the show who's gonna get us. She's gonna get us right. So let me. Where am I going? We can go to. I think it's your phone. I think we can go to affirmations. I'm ready for affirmations. During the holidays, it's tough for those who lost loved ones. Yes. So maybe we can ask Kippie. So we'll get her on, and then we can ask questions because I would like to know how to deal with holidays. I know the one time we had a rough time in the house when Ron's mom passed and the holidays came, and it was like trying to cope during the holidays. So that was tough. So I would love to talk about that. So we are going to bring her on after affirmations, and then we'll go over some things, but I would love for you guys to stay on that so that way we can ask questions. So affirmations. The one affirmation that I have for today is all of us have a lie we believe that stops us from impacting our voice. Do y'all hear that? All of us have a lie, one lie, two lies, a few lies we believe that stops us from impacting our voice. It silences us, right? So all of us believe something that somebody may have said, somebody may have done, somebody may have dropped in our spirit, and it stops us from living in our truth. It stops us from living in our assignment. It stops us from doing what God has told us to do. I know me, for myself, I was maybe 16, and I had some trauma that I experienced at 16, and from that person telling me that I was stupid from the trauma, that I was stupid that I let the trauma happen. The assaulter told me that. So I was stupid for letting the trauma happen, right? So from that point on, I've always said to myself, man, that was stupid for you to let that happen. This is me as 15 child. That was stupid for you to let that happen. And a lot of my life went on and continued on with me thinking I was stupid. It was crazy. I probably should have been, well, not that I definitely should have been in therapy, but yes. So all of us have a lie we believe that stops us from impacting our voice. And I can definitely say that one thing from 15 definitely trapped it like muzzled, is that the word muzzle? Muzzled my mouth for maybe 20 years. So I kind of got a little bit of freedom after 35. I think 35 was like a light bulb moment for me that, hey, you're not as stupid as that person said. You're not stupid at all. You were a child. So I just want everyone to believe in yourself. That lie is not what you believe in. Everything happens for a reason, and go to therapy, get that thing together. You can. We are some amazing people. Whoever's watching, you are amazing. You have so many gifts and you have so much to give to the world. I need you to operate in that gift. I need you to operate in your assignment, right? Because I got told today and this week that people appreciate me for even having this platform. Right? Because had I not operated in my assignment, this platform would not be touching people. It would not be touching lives. It wouldn't be changing lives. So I am happy to walk, right, in the assignment that God has given me. So here I am. I need you. I need you to get in your assignment. It's scary. Was I scared? Yes. I was terrified, petrified, because who's going to listen to me? Right? What do I have to say? What voice do I have that people are going to want to hear? But here we are, like 22 episodes later since May, and we're here. Yeah. Right? And we've been changing lives. So yes, I want to encourage you. Thousands. Yes. Overseas. Right. Yeah. So I need you to tap in. Isn't that a song? Tap in. It's probably not about God, but tap in. Tap into your assignment, please. Tap into your assignment. So yes, I have a video to play, and then we will go right into our show. Are y'all there? Did you guys say hi when you came in? Y'all say hi. Say hi. Hi. So let me see where I'm at, and then do. Okay, so I'm gonna play video, and then I shall be back. Y'all stay tuned.
Can I just vent about grief? I need to say this. This is the super unfortunate part of grief. I be needing to talk to my brother. I need to talk to him. I am going through life without a person that I talk to all the time, and I still need his advice. I know that sometimes if I called him, he would be on my side about something. Even if I was wrong, he'd be like, yeah, Kev, you right. And I'd be like, yeah, they tripping, ain't it? Yes. But no, I can't have that conversation because nigga dead. Nigga dead done messed up my whole thing. I was not preparing for you to be dead like that. My life was contingent on you not being dead. It was upon you being alive. We were supposed to do stuff. Now I just got to get up, go on about my day, live like I didn't talk to you every day. Nigga, I need to hit you up about something. Why am I not able to talk to you? I need to talk to you, man, about stuff. I have people in my life that are great, but they're not you. I specifically need to talk to you about specific things. I need to laugh. I need to reminisce. I need to be like, bro, did you see Colorado? What about Canelo? Can't have that conversation with other people because those are the conversations I had with you. Why are you dead when I need you alive? I need to talk to you. Can't call you, can't text. I can pray, see you again. Got all that, don't need that, need you alive to talk to today. Right now, September 28th, I need to call you. But I can't. And I'm just supposed to be living happy-go-lucky. Everything's the same. It ain't. It ain't. It ain't.
Y'all, that was Kev on stage. Like, that was so... I'm going to bring Kippie on. Ma'am.
Wow.
Like, that was tough.
It was so tough. And I remember when I saw it a couple weeks ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't help it because, he's so, for those who know him, Kev on stage is absolutely hilarious. He's
Right.
so funny. And so I remember when his brother did pass away, I believe his brother was big in the gospel music world. And so everyone knew his brother. So he was popular as well. And then when his brother passed away, I was like, oh, of course, you can't help but to like feel that a little bit of like all that, empathize with him. But to have him be so transparent, to get on social media and say, yo, I'm dealing with this. And I can still be funny. Like, he's going on tour to do a comedy show soon. I just saw a commercial for that. But he was having a real transparent moment that he misses his brother. And no one can take that person's place. Like he said, I can talk to other people. Yeah, I have other people to talk to, but it's not you. You weren't supposed to be gone, right? You were supposed to be here. I was supposed to be able to, talk and laugh and reminisce and do all that. And now you're not, right? And so what I appreciate the most about that video is the fact that he is allowing people to see what grief looks like.
Yeah.
Externally speaking it, as opposed to that's what we have in our head. Typically, you'll be thinking it, but he was brave enough to say it like, man, I'm struggling. This is what I go through. And so kudos to him, because those are the stages of grief, of deny. He didn't deny it. He was really almost kind of a little bit bargaining, but also you can tell he was
a little angry at the end.
Exactly. Yeah. First it started off a little bit funny, but you can see it in his face. His facial expressions changed, his tone changed. You can tell the anger coming out, right? You could really hear that. And so even a little, like I said, even a little bit of bargaining, like you weren't really supposed to be gone. Like, we were supposed to still be here, right? Like we're supposed to do that. So you look at that, and I'm not saying that he hasn't accepted it, but that he's dealing with it. And that's why I had said that the stages of grief are not linear, which means, okay, I'm going to go and I heard you, my brother. What are the stages of grief? So the stages of grief are denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. So it wasn't like, okay, my brother passed away, and so I went through denial. Now it's anger. So it shows you that, it's how our bodies, deal with the grief and how we cope with it. And so
Right.
he's coping with that right now and saying, this is what, and from him doing that, I guarantee you, the healing part of it. Don't get me wrong. He's always going to miss his brother and
Yeah.
have feeling. Remember, I tell you, grief, especially when of a loved one, that doesn't go away. It may get very small, but if an anniversary comes around, or a birthday or a holiday or something like that,
Right.
it makes you think about that person more, right? And so you'll think you'll have to deal with that again, and you may go through a little depression, right? That stage of depression. You may be a little angry, and you want to feel happy and be joyous, but that person's not there. And you used to celebrate and share those moments together, and they're not there anymore. So, how do we deal with, but that was spot on. I don't even know if he knew, from the world of
I know.
emotional wellness coach and people who work with grief and trauma. I'm like, yes, because the only other thing that we had that's really good, if you think about it, was what's that Disney show that deals with the emotions?
Oh,
Inside Out or
in
something
and
like
out.
that. And Out. Yeah, so that was kind of like a depiction of what, emotions and stuff look like.
Yeah.
But here is this man, who is a comedian that we know, right? Or he's known, he's
Right.
famous, and he is dealing with grief. And the fact that he was bold enough, and maybe, like, again, he may not even know what he was doing, but it was so impactful that
Yeah.
it was kind of like, to me, blessed other people to be like, that's what I was feeling, but I was afraid to say it. And so that's how trauma doesn't get trapped. That's how grief doesn't get trapped in, because you're able to, that's one way of expressing it. And it may not be good. It may not feel good, but I'm letting it out there and I'm talking about it and I'm communicating, that this is how I feel. And for a man, I just want to give him props.
Yeah.
For a man to be able to say
Mhm.
that, especially, a Black man to be able to go on a live and say, this is how I'm feeling,
Right.
on social media, and make yourself so vulnerable. Kudos to him to be able to say, this hurts, I miss him. And I think
I had to share it.
I think I'm so glad that you shared that. And I think it's so important for us to identify what grief looks like, not just what we feel. He expressed his feelings and we were able to see that's grief. That's what he's dealing with.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It was so like touching, because I'm like, yeah, you want to be able to call your people.
You too.
Like, you're supposed to be here. I want to call you, but I can't.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So last week you talked about, can you give us like a rough from last week we talked about grief that's stuck in our body and how it affects us. Can you give us like a recap?
Yes, just
of
real
that?
quick.
Real
Yep.
quick.
Does grief is call it trap trauma, or like
Mhm.
grief that kind of sticks in you, because we have not been able to effectively deal with the grief. We didn't know how to, and so it was passed on, and so we learned behaviors, and sometimes, negative coping skills, right? And we've learned ways of how to unfortunately cope with things negatively,
Mhm.
and or not deal with it at all. And so our emotions, and we don't know how to identify like what's really going on with us in order for us to be able to express it and be able to deal and heal. And so a lot of that was that, when you get hurt, it takes a time for you to heal, right? Healing
Yes.
hurts. And we talked about, some people don't want to do the work of healing because it hurts. There's nothing fun
Yes.
about healing. We looked at it and physically, how if you break your leg or something like that, it
Mhm.
takes time to heal. And it's painful, right? That's the same
Yes.
thing with our emotions. With our trauma emotions, it takes some time and it can be painful. However, the blessing of it all is that once you do that, I believe your sister had asked, like, I still cry sometimes, but it's not the same,
Yeah.
as it was initially. And that's really, going through that healing process. And yeah, we may shed some tears, but it's still not that same amount of trauma that affected us and may have even immobilized us from doing some things, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we talked about ambiguous grief, and that we grieve not just a person who has passed away, but we may grieve a situation or a circumstance that has changed, right? So it could be a divorce, a family member, a loved one who's been incarcerated,
we learned
moving, right? Exactly. Breaking up with your bestie, because that's a real thing as well. And so you feel that, and you go through the stages of grief as well, but that's ambiguous grief, that it's still, that person, or that, is still alive.
They're still here, alive, and you can grieve someone who's still alive.
Correct.
That was like a little light bulb.
Mm-hmm. It could be because of a natural disaster. It could be somebody who's diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and so they'll never be the same. They're still here physically,
right?
But their mind, is not there. So you're dealing with that as well. Mm-hmm.
That was good. So tonight we are talking about chronic, cumulative, and traumatic grief. Yeah. Now, I've never really heard of these ones. I mean, chronic, I feel like that's like repetitive.
Mm-hmm.
So can you tell us about chronic grief? Well, can you let the folks know? Wait, where's my introduction? Because I need y'all to know that our guest, she is hold on, I got it right here. Bam. She is the lead responder for Traumatic Loss Coalition of New Jersey. She is also the director of a grief and traumatic loss program. So she is here and she has the information and she's a professional. So thank you for coming on. We have a professional here to give us tools and information. So yes, chronic grief.
So chronic grief is also known as prolonged grief. And so that's what it is. It stays around for a long time, right? Mm. So it's been around. It's that grief that lasts over an extended period of time. And so that's that, Say it again.
Is that sickness?
No, well, it could be. You could have grief. You can have chronic grief or prolonged grief from being sick, right? Mm-hmm. You can have chronic grief or prolonged grief that stays just because you're still dealing with or you're still mourning the death of someone, right? So that chronic grief is that prolonged. It stays for a while. It's over an extended period of time. Usually when you're grieving someone, you start to, may feel a little bit better by at least 6 months. Remember, I was saying 6 months to a year, right? Although the grief is still there, it's, it's you're being able to cope better. You're using those coping skills. You're being able to kind of move and to hopefully get into the healing stages of it. But prolonged and chronic grief is that grief that stays extended longer than really what it's supposed to be.
So what does that look like for us? Like, what are some symptoms of chronic grief like in our body?
Well, chronic grief. So grief it gives the same symptoms, whether it be chronic grief, whether it be, So they all the grief looks the same, right? When in our body and can have the same damaging effects to our body.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. But just for mental health and emotional wellness, like the scientific aspect of it, mm-hmm. When people were looking at it and saying, why is this grief longer? What's going on? What's causing it to be that way? Why is this person still stuck where somebody else, may have been able to move from a situation that was the same or similar? What's causing it, right? And that's really that how your body reacts, and depending on, even how you were taught to deal or not taught to deal with grief, right? That it kind of just stays a little bit, and depending on what it is, and see what you'll see is that grief, because we'll talk about chronic grief, chronic prolonged, we're talking about cumulative or compound grief. Mm-hmm. That's another word for cumulative grief. And then traumatic grief, and we talked about that a little bit last week. We'll touch on that some more. But what happens is that they all kind of intertwine. So you can be dealing with traumatic grief, which is something you get grief from an isolated or traumatic incident, right? So it's a form of grief that happens in response to a sudden sudden or unexpected loss, right?
Right.
And so that could be, unfortunately, a family member that just passed away, or and it was unexpected, right? So that's traumatic. That's traumatic, right? And that's the grief. But that can be combined with chronic grief, which grief that lasts over an extended period of time. Like, you can hold on to that, right?
So you can have two griefs at one time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or you can just deal with one grief. You can just deal with chronic. You can do traumatic grief. But I'm not saying that they all have to be the same. Like, you're going to be dealing with all of them at the same time, but they can, depending on the situation, depending on what happened. If you just lost someone and it was sudden, that can be traumatic grief. But if you lost someone over and over and over again over a short period of time, like, what we hear in our in Black and brown families, that death usually comes in threes, right?
We're expecting it,
right? Yeah. Exactly. It usually comes in cycle of threes, but sometimes, even though we heard that and we're expecting it, when it happens, it's still so sudden, right?
Right.
And so that's what cumulative or compound grief is. That it's a series of losses that occur suddenly, like over unexpected, like over a period of time, a short period of time. So that is compound or cumulative grief. Like, dang, we just
lost such and such again. We just lost somebody else. Yeah.
And so compound grief and traumatic grief can go hand in hand, because you're just getting over the fact that someone else, and then like, wow, this person passed away, and oh my goodness, another one passed away, right? And so you're dealing with the trauma of the grief, but also the fact that they're all together. Yeah. So that's compound. That's compound or cumulative grief.
Or cumulative grief. Got you. Okay. So the multiple losses over a short period of time. What are some signs that someone dealing with cumulative grief, like, what are some signs that they're dealing with that, even if they don't even recognize it in themselves? Like, what should they be looking for? Some signs that they're dealing with that type of grief.
You mentioned it. One of the biggest things is not being able to regulate your emotions. Like when you said, I know I should be crying, but I can't.
Wait, what is this? Okay. All right.
Cumulative. Cumulative.
Okay.
Cumulative. So it's when you know that you really should be and you really want yourself to cry. Has anyone been there? I've been there too.
If y'all been there, raise your hands, put some hands in the comments.
And you're like, I know I should be crying. And it's your body just kind of saying, this is it's being like over hypersensitive or over processing, like, because there's so much that's going on that, like, I don't even know how to process this. Your body's having a hard time to like process it, right? Or wrap your mind around it.
Like, I'm literally in the funeral trying to like get some type of expression, and there's like nothing's coming out, and I feel bad that nothing's coming out.
Right. But it's and that's another way of your body. Like last week, we talked about how amazing that our bodies are and how intricate it is in our nervous system. And that could be a way that your nervous system was like, it's just too much for me right now, right? Yeah. It was too much emotion or too much grief to kind of take in. And that's really a way to understand that that's what trauma is, because, trying to figure out a good definition of what really is trauma, right? Trauma is anything that overrides your ability to cope. And so you not being able to and so anything that overrides your ability to cope, because understand coping is important. Remember, we talked about the fight or flight and how our body, that's how freeze. Or freeze, right? Fight. Yep. Fight, flight, or freeze. That's right. Because we do that as well.
Yeah.
That's a way of how our body is saying, okay, this is what's going on. This is how we're reacting to this situation, because it's so, and that's, we cope. We cope during that way because, it helps us to be able to move to the thinking aspect or the cognitive aspect of what's really going on. But typically when we first get news and stuff like that, our body goes into reactive mode, which is coping. Coping is important because it helps us to be able to it softens the blow, right? It kind of softens the blow of what everything's going on. Our body's amazing that way. It makes sure it helps us to to regulate ourselves and regulate and get us ready to do that. So it kind of softens the blow for us to kind of eventually go into like the healing part of it. Let us cope. That's why coping's not supposed to be forever, right?
Prolonged time.
Long term. Like it's not supposed to be prolonged. It's supposed to go, and I'm guilty of it.
Decades of coping at this point.
Listen, I didn't say it last week when we were talking, but I was just kind of thinking about everything that we had discussed. And I remember teaching a 3-part series on grief and trauma at my church, because a lot of our members were losing people like left and right. Unfortunately, like you and I had discussed, there's a lot of death around us right now. And so, we lost Dana, and my heart is like, God, understand what I'm saying? So there's so much grief and so much loss right now that, we have to learn how to deal with this and how to handle it, right? And how support, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But I remember talking about the difference of grief and how we cope, and then, as we heal. And so I'm talking, and that second part of the series, I get a message and said, all these years I've been coping, and now I'm finally able to heal. Like I didn't even know, I've been coping for like 2 decades, not even realizing that's what I've been doing. But I lost this one, and then I lost this one, and then I lost this one, and they were significant. I think it was like her parents, and then she was adopted, so her adopted parents as well, and she was losing them. And so she finally said, I never realized that because I still had another one, that I was just coping with the death of this one until they all died. And now I have to heal from this. Right. Yeah. And so that was really like eye-opening for her to say, I've been coping all these years. Now I'm healing.
I love that though. I love that the show is giving like tools, like you, ma'am, are like helping us with these tools of coping, because we didn't have a name for it. We were just living. We was putting it, suppressing our feelings.
We were.
And then we was just living. And if we cried, we cried. If we didn't, we didn't. But, we just kept on living and living with this grief. And just what's stage 1? Denial. I don't know if I ever got to denial or anger. Have I been angry? Yes. But I've just been like, not acknowledging. What number is that? What number is not acknowledging?
Not acknowledging is a part of denial.
Number 1 then, never mind.
It's okay, but that's a part of like that whole knowledge. Now, if I don't say it, then it really can't. Like I know it happened, but I'm just not going to really. That's all a part of It can be a little bit of bargaining too, but more denial.
Got you. So denial. Okay, listen. When I tell people, I told the folks we're in therapy while we here. Like you are really put it up there. Stage 1 denial. Thank you.
Yeah, and that's what it is, and it's kind of like, again, we don't go like, okay, I'm at stage 1 and I'm at this, and our bodies. And again, I just believe that's how the Lord, remember I was telling you, like he had given me that, like you're fearfully and wonderfully made, and our body really takes care of itself if we allow it to, right? It's so intricate. Our nervous system, and we're talking about our brain, right? And how it all plays a part. I know my sister Rita is on here, and I remember when I was going through a transition from leaving, corrections and starting my own business. And I was going through all the stages of denial. I mean, all the stages of grief, not denial, of grief. And what one of the things I had to do, and I heard the Lord so clearly, he told me to rest, right? And I'm like, he said, be still. And like a part of resting, because one of my things was I didn't know how to rest. And so what I had to do, one of the things that helps me to deal with the trauma that was in me is to rest, right? Is to really allow my body to rest and get the proper, rest that I need in order for my body to catch up.
Yeah, you got to recuperate.
Exactly. And I wasn't doing it. I was just moving. My famous line was, give me 5 minutes and then back to gangster. Like I'm 5 minutes and gangster. Like I got it. And then I realized that my 5 minutes was more like 10 minutes, right? And then was more like 25 minutes, right? Because I learned to sit with myself and sit with my emotions, with my feelings, to see what they were, to identify what they were. But I still gangster. I still got back a gangster. But 5 minutes But it was that 5 minutes after, 5 minutes, and then because that was kind of like, oh, you know, I'm like 5 minutes in gangster. Let me cry. I cry 5 minutes and then I'm back, right? But the more that I realized that there is healing in your rest, right?
Yes.
That's why sleep is so important. And that's one of the ways that we heal through grief, through trauma. Now that I know my body and how it reacts to certain traumatic or grievous incidents, I want to go to sleep all the time. But I remember telling Rita, like, I got this epiphany. I'm like, you know, I'm supposed to, like, I was just praying and asking God, like, what do I do? Like, how do I handle this? Mind you, I got degrees in this, you know, I have certain skill set, and I'm still like, I don't know. When it comes to yourself, you're like,
Right.
Like, what do I do? Right. So I was like, God, you're gonna have to help me with this. Like, I don't even know. Like, and I called Rita and I was like, God gave me the scripture. He told me, like, be still. Like, and I was like, and what's that mean? I was like, rest. Like, that's it. Like, nothing else. Like, stop looking for something else. And Rita was like, I'm so glad he told you, because, you know, I was trying to tell you. It was a listen, like, you need to relax. You need
to
rest your
body.
Right. You need to be able to deal with what happened to you instead of moving so fast. And again, like I said last week, we have a preconceived definition or misunderstood definition of what resiliency means. Resiliency does not mean take a hit and keep on take a licking and keep on ticking, or take a hit and bounce back and keep on going. That's not realistic, and that's not sustainable. And if we continue to go on and doing that, our body's just going to shut down eventually anyway.
Yes.
Because and how many of us can say, I've just had it where I couldn't do it anymore. I've tried, I've kept on pressing through, because that's what I was taught again.
So they teach us in church house too. Press your way.
So they do. And we talked about that. We talked about the pressing on, right?
Yeah.
But here's the thing, if we can go there, Jesus went and rested. He had to go in the wilderness. You understand what he went away from the people that he was dealing with, and he went to rest. You understand? And so that's what I'm learning, not only when it comes to what I've been taught to do, and how, you know, with grief and trauma, which again, I'm grateful for my testimony, but it's taken. It's almost kind of like one of those things, you know, for those who know me, know what I've been through. On the other side of it, that's why I'm so passionate about this work, because I've had to live everything that I'm talking about, right? And so and learn that everything that I'm talking about, that, you know what, there is healing in your trauma. You don't have to always be this way. You don't have to always be triggered and be so emotional that you're stuck and you can't continue to go on. How do we process? How do we heal from what we've been through, right? And it takes time. It takes intentionality. You know, it takes support. Plenty of prayer, you know, get a counselor, get a wellness coach, get emotional, you know, wellness coach, get those people who have been trained to help you to get some of that trapped trauma, which is really your emotions, because you've never let them out.
And, you know, get someone who they can help you identify
what it is.
Yeah, because a lot of times we don't even know what it is. We just know it's something.
Yeah.
I feel something.
Right.
Especially in our community. Is this Whoopi and Madam?
Listen, putting Vic Sav ain't gonna help trap trauma.
Right.
I don't care how much Vicks you put on your chest and on your back. I don't care how much Tiger Balm you put on, because, you know, I live by them, both of them. But I don't care what that's not going to stop it. It may feel icy hot and it may feel good, but it's not. That's not the, you know, we quick to go to Vicks for, you know.
Yes. Little Vicks, little Tylenol. You all right? Little ginger ale.
For Vicks, you good. You real good with Vicks, right?
Stories, you all right. Yeah.
But so we have to do some work.
We do have to do the work. So we implore you, what is your website if folks want to get in touch with you?
Sure. It is www.intentionaltransitionsllc.com.
So if you are watching and you need to get in touch, y'all hear me? Need to get in touch with Miss Kippie Langford, please, the website is right there. intentionaltransitionsllc.com. She is taking clients. Find her. Let's heal the world. But you know why? You know why this is so important to me? Because we don't have to be here.
We don't.
We don't have to. Some of us, I don't want to say some of us don't want to heal, but some of us don't even know that there is a path to healing.
Right.
Because we just live with it.
Correct. Because, and you're absolutely right, because we were taught that, right? And so we talked about that last week, you know, that whole what goes on in the house stays in the house. And, you know, when we deal with trauma, and so it gets passed down from generation to generation. And one of the things I really, once I got the epiphany, was kind of like, Kip, you know, I want you got to start healing, because I started seeing some of the same things in my daughter. And I was like, but she didn't go through what I went through, right? But it's a repeating cycle, because she's modeling what I'm modeling, you know, how I handle certain things. And although she didn't have to, so I was like, you know what? I don't want that to happen. I don't want it to happen for my son, for my daughter. I definitely don't want it to happen for my grandchildren. And so how do I work on Kippie? And here's the thing, I don't want to deal with it no more. I don't want to have to continue to be the age that I am, to have to, you know, be so adversely affected by something, right? And so, and not saying that I shouldn't be initially, right? But at the end of the day, if I'm professing certain things about Christ, because Christ, you know, he dealt with adversity, he dealt with his feelings, you know. I look at it all the time. He said, be angry and sin not. So I'm learning how not to sin, because when I get angry, I get, you understand what I'm saying? So these are real things. He talks about it. And that's why I'm saying the Bible is basic instruction before leaving, right? This earth is living. And so, you know, he talks about anxiety, right? You think about it. If you look in the Bible, it says, fear not. Fear not is written in the Bible 365 times.
Yes.
Wouldn't it just, like, doesn't that just make you think that God is so intentional that he put it in there 365 times?
He's giving us a hint.
Every day he's telling you, fear not. You know, so, or dealing with like anxiety, right? He talks about it. Be anxious for nothing. But what do you do? How do I not be anxious? He says, don't be anxious. Don't worry about anything. Right? He says, pray about everything, right? He says, be specific with your prayers, right? Give me thanksgiving. And then he gives you the key. He said, if you do all that, he says, then the peace of God that passes all understanding will guard your heart and your mind through Christ Jesus, right? And so that's why I love the Bible, because it shows you that Jesus had emotions. He had feelings. You know, he got mad. He flipped over the table when they was gambling up in the sanctuary. You understand what I'm saying? In the temple. He's like, no. You know, so you see this. When Lazarus, his best friend, died, you know, his sisters was calling him like, oh, what is wrong with you? Like, you see my brother? And he said, you know, he wept. We recite it all the time. It says Jesus wept. Now, give me one scripture. I'm gonna tell you Jesus wept. That's the scripture in the Bible, right? But it's significant for you to see that he had feelings as well, right?
Showing emotion,
He's showing his emotion, because someone that he loved passed away. Understanding that he's God, he's about to raise him, but the human part of him was like, you know what? I hurt for my brother. My brother died. And so I always bring that back. I hope I'm not being too churchy, but let me explain something. I can't do one without the other.
We churching here.
I can never do, and I always tell people all the time, I can't do Jesus with therapy without Jesus. It has to be both for me, because the world stole it anyway. You know, as a man thinketh, so is he. That's cognitive behavior therapy. You know, you think, you become. And that's what I love about the word, because it teaches you how to do it. I have practical skills that I went to school for that I can use in conjunction with the word, right? But it's really a way of showing you that, guess what? These things are real. And so the God that I serve allowed me to see that he was emotional when things happened. So guess what? I can be emotional too.
And it's okay.
And it's okay. But what I'm learning to do is to manage my emotions so that my emotions won't overrun and manage me, right?
Because they can overwhelm people, and then people don't know what to do when you're overwhelmed. Now you're like sitting in those emotions for years.
Correct. And that's how they get. And so trapped trauma is that trapped emotion, because you can't remember, trauma is the anything that overrides your ability to cope. and to deal and to heal, right?
Yeah.
So it's stuck because you don't know what to do with it, right?
Right.
You have no idea how to really deal. And then if something happens, you don't deal with it, then another traumatic incident happens, you don't deal with it, and so it just compiles. It
Right.
keeps
It's layering.
Right? And so you have all of this stuff, all of these emotions that you never identified, that you never were able to properly, heal from,
Yes.
right?
Mhm.
And manage that. And so now you're like, it's just easy for me to freeze or to fight, right? Or I can run from it. I'll just run from my problems. How many of us, I'll just run from it.
Because
I'll
that's the
just
busy people. I just keep
Mhm.
myself busy, right? Because I know when people pass away and you go to the house, people will say, "Let me keep myself busy. Let me keep myself busy. Let me keep myself busy."
Like, sit
I'll
down.
go
How many dishes can you find another dish to wash?
in the kitchen. The busy people.
Right.
They frying chicken, they cooking, they washing dishes, they wiping counters. They're are they hiding in there?
They're coping. They're trying to
Coping.
figure out, and remember, coping's not a bad word. That's
Right.
our body's way of holding us. It's our
Yeah.
body's way of softening the blow of like, all right, because a lot of it, I remember something that I was dealing with, and I had to share a lot of traumatic events in my life
Mhm.
with somebody who I was, close with at the time. And I needed to share that. I know that this information was important for us to go to the next level, right? And I remember saying, that person saying, "Is that it?" I'm like, "Yep, that's it." And then I went away like, "Oh God, thank you." Like I let that go. I released that, I
Yeah.
was able to, confess, just deal with some certain things, right? The next day I find myself talking again and sharing. And that person's like, "I thought you said that was it." And I'm like, "I thought it was too." I'm going to continue, I'm going to, try. I think it's it. That's it. I'm
Yeah.
not going to say anything else. Like,
But if
this is
something
it.
else
Like,
comes to you, you're going to say that, right?
right.
Yeah.
And so it happened again. And then I was frustrated with myself because it almost kind of made me feel like I was lying, right? And I'm like,
Did I
I'm
not get
not
it all out?
lying.
Is there
I was
more?
like, right.
Yeah.
Why, but here's the thing. I had suppressed so much of the trauma that
Mhm.
I had to go for counsel. And I said, I don't understand why I keep on bringing up more stuff, because I know this is what God shared with me to do. I need to, I'm healing, right? Just before I'm healing, but why? Like I know it. And I'll never forget, I got the most wisest counsel, and she said, "Do you think God is that mean? He's so gracious with you. He knows how much you can handle.
Yeah.
He's not giving it all. You couldn't handle all of that. So he's giving it to you as you're willing and accepting to deal with it. He's giving it to you. So instead of you saying I'm done, just say I'm not sure. And when I'm done, I'm sure I'll know when I am. But I'm not sure right now. So if I do have to have something else that comes up, just be understanding and be gracious with me, as God is
Yeah.
being gracious with me, and as I'm being gracious with myself. Because that's just how it is. Our bodies are formed in a way that it's not going to take us out. Like, God doesn't want us to die when we're dealing with
Right.
our grief and our trauma.
Because
And
that's
so
broken heart, right? That happens
that's a
too.
broken heart. But even the word says that God is the only one that can heal that broken heart,
Yeah.
right? And so that's that brokenheartedness, right? And so it's kind of like that, I got to understand it. And that's one way of how we deal with grief and trauma, because guess what? The majority of us has dealt with more than one grievous incident or one traumatic incident, right?
Yeah.
And so as we are learning to sit with our feelings and sit with our
Mhm.
emotions, and as they come up, the situations that cause them are going to come up, right? And so you're
Yeah.
dealing with all of this. And so I would say, be gracious with yourself. When
Yeah.
it's too much, all right, give yourself, affirm yourself that you were brave enough to sit there and to deal with that. I don't care if it
Mhm.
was 5 seconds, you did that, but if it gets a little bit longer, but be gracious with yourself as you're doing it. I know everyone wants to know, like, well, what are the steps? Guess what? My steps may be different than your
Yes.
steps are. because my trauma may have been different than yours.
Right.
And I'm different than what you are, right? There's not even twins are made up, are the same, identical, right? Even though they may look identical, but how we deal with things and how we process things are totally different. So being gracious with yourself and understanding that, God, I think I'm here. I'm able to work on this. And it may, 9 times out of 10, it's going to bring up something from your past that hurts you, right?
Yeah.
Or that's triggering. And remember, triggering is just your body's way of telling you that there's still healing that needs to be done in that area, and that's okay.
And that's okay. Right? Triggering means there's some more work to be done, and it's okay. We learned that last week.
Yeah.
So Lisa said she did the dishes and clean when her dad passed away to avoid visitors, like completely saying the same thing over and over. And she just stayed in the kitchen because she needed time. So when people are like getting their me time and they're visiting, like, should we go? What are you saying to people who are dealing? Because that's always awkward for me. I'm such an awkward deaf person.
Right. So I love that. So it's funny that you said that because I wrote down some things and I didn't even know we were going to talk about this. How can you help someone who is grieving? I wrote it down today. Yep. So how can you help someone that's grieving? One way you can help them is just encourage them to talk about their loved ones at their time in their pace, right?
Yes.
And they may not be able to do it right then and there, right? So, if the conversation could be, or you could reminisce with that person, right? So talk about them by reminiscing, if it's a loved one, like, you remember when so-and-so did this, and try to spark up a conversation that way, right? So encouraging them to talk about it in their time. And that person has to be able to say, I'm not ready. And then, respect that. But that's one way. Correct. Yep. Let them tell their story. Even if you have heard it a billion times, let them tell their stories. I don't know. Listen, now I come from a family of storytellers, and my mom can tell the same story 100 times over again, like she's told it for the first time. I feel like I'm watching 51st Dates when she's talking to me about. I'm like, I'm thinking about, and I don't even recur to anymore. I'm like, oh,
this is going.
Yeah, that's number 7.
Okay.
We're on 20 now, so but let them tell their stories regardless of how many times they have to, because there's something comforting about them telling their story. There's something healing about them telling their story, right? So allow them to tell their story, right? Because it helps them out. It helps them.
Got you.
Remember, it's about them, not us. Listen without interrupting. Let that person talk. Don't be like, oh my goodness, I remember that. Unless they say, you remember that? Yes, I do. Right. Let them talk. Let them tell, give them that opportunity. Listen without interrupting them, because you never know what they need to just get off their chest. Right.
Yeah.
And so you have to allow them to listen. I mean, you have to allow them to talk without interrupting.
I'll keep that in mind.
And
so you just sit there. I have a question, teacher. So what do you just sit there and just like let them talk, and then you're listening uninterrupted?
Yes, but do nonverbal communication, not in your head. Okay. Lean in a little bit more, right?
Okay.
Come back out, right? If you see that they're having a difficult time and may be crying, maybe you can interrupt that during that time to say, do you mind if I put my hand on you, or do you mind if I hug you, while you're, and so that they can continue going on. But you want to be able to allow them to speak, right? So that's so important. Accept their feelings and have empathy, even if they're mad. Even if they say, I'm so mad, I couldn't stand that person, but I'm so sad that they're gone. Like, accept what they have to say, accept their feelings about it. Because remember, feelings are hard to communicate. And if someone's willing to communicate how they're feeling, allow them to do that, to get that out. Okay.
It's their feelings. It's how they're feeling in the moment.
Correct.
Let them. Because I know people will say like, oh, you shouldn't be like that. And That's not an acceptable. It's not an active listening skill we should be using.
It's not. And if it's uncomfortable for you, then you have to you got to do it and listen to them, and then maybe afterwards say, that was really hard for me to hear.
Yeah.
And I'm so sorry that may happen to you, or whatever the case is. But there's nothing wrong with, after you listen, saying, wow, I mean, I never knew that, and that was hard for me to hear. That was hard for me to take in. Even if I did know it was truth, I could say that I hear what you're saying, but that was hard for me to hear. So, I can only imagine, and those types of things. So you want to have that. Let them cry, even if you feel uncomfortable, right? Let them cry. Let them not listen.
What am I supposed to be doing though? I am the freeze awkward person.
Me? If someone's crying, I won't even have to say it out loud. I'll automatically go to praying.
Okay.
In my mind, God, please help them. Like Jesus, what I'm saying? Comfort them right now.
Yes.
And so I will. That's what I'll do. If someone's crying, I'm a hugger.
You're a hugger.
I'm a healer. I believe. Listen, I think it was passed down to me. And she's not even my grandma, but you can't tell nobody she wasn't. But Mother Brooks has had a way of just hugging you, and everything was right. And I've heard that so much within the past 5 years. I just need a hug from you. So I'm a hugger. I believe healing comes out of me, because I've been just dealing, working with this so much.
I like that.
And so I need to touch somebody as they're crying. I'm praying. They may not even know it. But just
there's healing in the touch, though.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, that's healing and comfort.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh, there's my sister Angie.
Oh,
Angie. I talked about my grandma, my mom Brooke. She's my grandma, right, Angie? Yeah, she took me in a long time ago. I'm her grandchild. But let them cry. Let them cry, even if you feel uncomfortable about it. And here's another thing. Here's one of the hardest things. You got to learn to sit in silence with them. They may not even want to talk. Be quiet. Don't be asking, so how's the weather? What's on? You watch a game? Shut up. No, I mean, but be quiet. Be quiet. Be okay. And one of the things that I've learned is called psychological first aid. And you have to, when we're doing that, when we're administering that, when I go out to traumatic responses, and I'm getting to know what's going on and gathering that information, one of the things I'll ask a person who's dealing with, the trauma of the incident, I'll be like, do you want to talk? If they say, no, I just want to sit. Okay.
And then we just sit there.
We just sit. And guess what? That's probably one of the hardest trainings that I had to learn how to do, is just to sit, because you never know what your presence will do with that person.
Yeah.
And, one person, they didn't talk the whole time. And I was like, okay, Kippie, what are you going to do? Just imagine sitting for 40 minutes and not saying anything.
Just nothing.
Nothing.
But that's what you need, though, right?
And I may check in a little bit, you all right? You want to see? No, I don't want to talk. Okay. Sitting there.
But then they didn't want you to leave, because they would have said.
Because your presence makes a difference. They would have told you. They would have told you that it's uncomfortable.
That's good.
But you don't need to talk all the time. They just need your presence. Sometimes they just, sometimes people just hold. One of my besties, if something's going on, she likes to hold my hand. We interlock hands, and I may not have to say anything. And I remember when her father was passing away, and I said, let me know what you need. And that's something that we can ask too. Tell me what you need. Sometimes I don't know, but I said, tell me what you need. Do you need me to stay? Do you need some time, by yourself?
Yeah.
You let me know what you need. And she was like, I think I need some time. I said, okay, well, this is the time. This is, but I left with a plan. You're like, okay, well, this is the time I'll be checking in on you. If you don't check on, call me beforehand. I'll be calling you at this time to make sure that you're okay. If you tell me no or whatever, I'll come over. But allowing that person to let you know how they're feeling.
Because sometimes people have to process.
Exactly. And that's what she said. She said, I'm still dealing with this. I need to be able to have a little bit of me time, alone time. And I said, okay, let me know how I can help you. And let me know, when you want me to come back over, things like that. But ask the person, what do they need at that time? Right. How can I help make this time better for you?
And respect what they say. I think that's me. I'm like, you want to be alone? Okay, good. Because I understand the wanting to be alone, and that's when people can really like sit in their feelings and be like, okay, I don't have to like bottle it or put on airs because people are watching.
Right.
I can go cry. I can go scream. I can go hit something.
You can, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Can you go over the PIES, the pies?
I can. So our pies are a way for us to identify what our feelings and emotions are at a time that we're being triggered, right? And it could be anything. It could be, triggered from grief, like a grievous moment, right? And so when we get a minute to kind of, I call it like an assessment, like you're going to do like a body scan or an assessment, like how am I feeling on the 4 areas of your life? Because remember, we're not just one, we are a one person, one human, but we're made up of different things, right?
Yeah.
So understanding that, so the P in PI stands for physically. How am I feeling physically?
Right.
And so I like doing the pies because I also it helps me to identify that I may feel a certain way, but that's not who I am. I'm not my feelings. And so I won't really say I'm depressed. I'll say I feel depressed or I feel sad,
that way.
Right?
Yeah.
Because it helps me to identify what that feeling is and why that feeling is. When we're grieving, we know why we're feeling that way. But physically, so P stands for physically. How am I feeling physically?
Yes.
The I in PI stands for intellectually. And that's kind of like all of the, the learning, the information, the knowledge. How do I feel that way intellectually? E stands for emotionally. How am I feeling emotionally? And then S stands for spiritual and support wise. Am I supported? Right. So if for today, if I were to do my pies, it would look like this physically. I always move whenever I do physical, I always move my back because if anything, I'm going to complain about my back. My back was achy, but physically I feel good today. I feel strong. Intellectually, I feel a little overwhelmed. I've had a lot of work to do in a short period of time. A lot of trauma work this week and meeting some important stakeholders. So I'm a little stretched intellectually this week. Emotionally, I am a little sad. I'm sad. I definitely was sad about Dana, and I'm still sad about that. So if I say anything, I'm sad. Although I mean I'm okay, but I can say if that's the feeling that comes out, I'm sad about that. And spiritually, I'm grateful. I'm grateful.
Yeah.
I'm grateful for my health. I'm grateful for, my life and for employment and finance. I'm just grateful. I'm grateful to be alive.
Yeah.
And so support wise, I would say that I feel really supportive. I have a good support system with family and with friends and even with my job, with my coworkers. I always tease and say, get yourself a job that you work with mental health and counseling and you never have to pay. You have to pay a copay. But I definitely do feel supported. And so those are my pies. And pies are important because they help you to identify your feelings. And so sometimes you may not be able to, and then you have to sit with a little while. You saw me. I had to take a little bit and say, like, how am I feeling? And so it makes you come up with what it is. And it's not always, you can't say good. Ever you have to identify and good, that's not the feeling. You have to be very specific about your pies.
And you can write it in your journal or write it in your notes on your phone.
And so that's exactly what I do.
Every day is important.
It's so funny. The one who's coming on, Heather, that's coming on the mammographer, all of a sudden out of the blue, she'll be like, "What are your pies?" I'm like, so I told her. And so we check each other, just to check in on each other. We'll do that a lot. I'll ask just, friends, people who know me, they're like, I'll just check. I'm like, what are your pies? And they'll do it. And what I appreciate is that they do it back to me. And to me,
I love that.
That's such a blessing because there's times that I'm just like, and it gives you that break that you need to really kind of say, let me check in on Kippie today. let me see how Kippie's doing. So
I like that. So friends, if you're watching, send your friends a pie to see how they're doing. You guys see what it is on the screen. Take a note, take some notes. Like I love this because I checked on a few friends today, and I think this would have been really good to send them.
Yeah. And tell them they can't use good. Good cannot be a feeling for any of that. Tell them to express exactly what that feeling. And here's the thing, if you don't know what feeling is, go on Pinterest and get a feeling wheel. And then start to identify, start using some of them.
What was it? A feeling?
A feeling wheel. A feeling wheel. A wheel. Okay. Yep. And so it'll let you know, like, so for anger, it'll give you like 6 or 7 different feelings, like how
gotcha.
And so you can't say the same word all over again. You have to identify what exactly that is.
Okay. I love that. So guess, people, audience, if you guys have questions for our lovely guest, Kippie Langford, she is here. We are talking about chronic grief. Last week, we talked about grief and the impact it has on our bodies here on Beyond the Surface with Sharen. And we have given you so much information. If you have questions, she is here. She also has her website that is www.intentionaltransitionsllc.com. You can find her there if you want to talk personally about some grief that you are experiencing and you would like her expertise. Please call her. Email. That's an email. Email her. Like, she is available. I love that you are working in this field. Like I said, especially with the Black and Brown communities and us having some grief and trauma. Like, grief and trauma are pretty much married cousins, not married cousins, they're cousins like eyebrows. They're cousins.
Yeah.
And they go together. Like, you can experience the trauma at the same time.
Yep, that's why it's that traumatic grief. And so it is. So grief is a response to a loss, whereas trauma is a response to the distressing event, or again, anything that overrides your ability to cope. So you see how they go hand in hand, right? I'm grieving a loss and I got trauma because it overwhelmed my coping mechanism.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
So even parents, like, you should have your kids if they are experiencing. So what type of grief and trauma can kids experience that their parent should be putting them in some type of trauma therapy?
Well, even with the loss. So you know how hard it is just think about that. I always say, like, statistically, just to let you know, when we're dealing with grief and trauma, a lot of people thought that it was kind of like it started when they're like maybe like 4 or 5. No, it starts in the womb, where children can start feeling trauma, right? Traumatic things that happens to them. And so we touched a little bit last week about ACEs, which are adverse childhood experiences. And so that's just like negative experiences as when you're a child, right? So whenever a child experiences any type of adverse, experience, right? Any type of adversity, you want to talk, you want to deal with them about, like, okay, because a death, we as adults have difficulties dealing with death, right? What makes us think that our youth or our children don't know what it is?
Because they tell us they bounce back.
Because and they were taught to, like, oh, stay out of grown folks' business, right? Well, they have feelings too. And so we have to be able to identify that our babies have feelings, and they were taught, don't talk back, or don't say this, right? And so they hold it in because they don't know how to express themselves, or if they say it too much, you're being too fresh, or you're being disrespectful. No, this child is trying to say. And so you have a child now, if they can't talk it out, they're going to act it out, right?
Yes, here comes anger.
And so you have these, babies that are now dealing with ways, because your body is going to try to figure. Remember, fight, flight, or freeze. It doesn't just start with adults. It's the child too. It's our physical body. It's how God made us, when it comes to that, our nervous system. And so I would say, as a parent who is dealing with, or who is really, dealing and healing, and to start, is to really kind of look and say, my children may have, if I've gone through this, 9 times out of 10, my children may have, started, dealing with. And so having those conversations, I was just thinking, mommy was dealing with this, how did that affect you? Did it bother you at all? What were some of the feelings that you may have had? Or do you still feel that way? Would you be willing to talk to somebody about it?
Like lead them in the conversation.
Correct. They don't know how to have a conversation. We don't. We're learning. What makes us think that they don't know, and so it's our jobs as adults, as parents, as guardians, as godparents, as whatever our responsibility is to raise these children and train them up. It's everyone's job to do that, right?
Our village.
So it's a village. And so we have to start talking to them in ways that they can. How did that make you feel when that happened? Oh, okay. And then, because that's what early age. You there? Am I there? Okay. Is to be able to identify your feelings at an early age, right? Yes. To know what that is and to be able to express it clearly, so that as you get older, you're able to identify, talk it, get the solutions to what you're going through, right? So that you won't have to try to learn it later and deal with it. So if you have a healthy relationship, and that deals with relational intelligence, it's a parent's responsibility to really kind of have that one-on-one relationship, to be able to say to the child, mommy or daddy's going through, I saw this, how is that making you feel? We don't realize that, like I said, children have their emotions too. If they see shooting at school, guess what? They're going to be afraid to go to school. I don't care if it happens somewhere
to go to school, and they in Texas doing that, or in Florida, right. Like petrified over here. First day of school, yeah.
Right. So we have to have these discussions about, those things and their feelings about it, so that they'll know how to be able to react when those things happen.
Got you.
Mm-hmm. If they happen. But what I'm saying? Yep.
Mm-hmm. Oh, love the show. How are you? Can you tell Kippie hi? Oh, that's LaShara King said to tell you hi.
Oh, hi, LaShara.
So if you guys who are watching, thank you guys for tuning in. This is Beyond the Surface with Sharen, with my guest, Kippie Langford. We are talking about grief and trauma. If you guys have questions for our guests, please put them in the comments. She will answer them. She's here. She's been helping us with some coping skills, coping mechanisms. She has just told us about PIES, PIES. It is the physical, intellectually, emotionally, spiritually, and supportive. Oh. So you can check on your friends that way. You can check on yourself that way. I love that. I think I'm going to maybe, you know what? I could set a daily reminder at a certain time in my phone, right? An alarm or something. Mm-hmm. To remind myself, hey, where are you at with your PIES? I like that idea. Okay.
Right. And before we go, there's another one too, and I'll give you the information and you can share it with everyone. But it's called Hope Cards. I learned it as coping cards, but I say Hope Cards instead of Cope Cards, because it's a way of me to know that, and I share it I do it on my retreats, any type of workshop that I do, I try to incorporate Hope Cards. And basically it's a keychain, and you have these little cards on there, and you fill them out with things that make it easy for you to get through a situation. So it could be
it could be what? Where you at, boo? You kind of froze. Are you there?
You there? I don't know what happened, because I have plenty of energy.
That is the enemy.
I say it every time we're on there. He don't want us to get it through. Every single time.
You don't get this message across, no devil.
When I tell you, all of my stuff is charged and everything, so I don't know. But Hope Cards is basically a way that you can look. It's something where it's tangible. It can be. I usually have it on my lanyard on my with my ID, or you can put it on your keychain. And it's just subtle reminders when you're having a tough day, when you've been triggered, of things that you can do to help you out. It can be your favorite scripture. It could be, a reminder to breathe. It could be a reminder
Is
like
this
to take
something
a
you
walk.
sell? Do you
Say
sell
it
this? Do you
I
sell
don't.
these hope
I
cards?
don't sell them. I give them away because I think
Okay.
it's important to give them away. So
Mhm.
you have to come to my workshop. There's a plug to come to my workshops. But it's important, and you can get them. I can show you what they are, and I can send some out if anyone's interested in getting some. Just hit me up on my website, and I will make sure that you get some hope cards with the instructions on how to do it.
Oh,
And
I
so
love
that's
that.
just a tangible way of kind of saying, you know what, I may be having a tough day, and I may be grieving over some things. How can I what can I do? And
Yes.
so you look at those cards, and there's selections, and I always try to say you have options, but when you're going through things like that, you don't know. So it's always important to have something where you can refer to and say, okay, I can do this. I
Yes.
can, and I promise you, 9 times out of 10, one of those things that are written down on there will either
Mhm.
smile, it'll remind you of something that you can do, it'll give you some type of comfort. And
Right.
most importantly, it'll give you hope when it comes to, and that's why I tend
Oh,
to call it hope instead of cope, because coping
I
is
love
good
that.
too, but I love the hope of it. So
Right. There's more on the other side of the hope.
correct.
We can all I just love hope and like grace.
Me
You
too.
just hope and grace. You're kind of
Yeah.
just there's more
Yeah.
there. And you're not alone.
You're
Like
not
hope.
alone.
Yeah. I
And
love
that's
that.
why I love hope, because hope is one of my people tell me, like, ask me all the time, like, what's your favorite word? I'm like, hope. Like, if it's
Hope.
not, my whole life was based upon hope.
Yeah.
It really was. And I mean,
Yeah.
when I tell you that, it is so, I'm not making it up. For those who know me, know my story. I know, I would say to myself, God, there has to be more. Like, I know that there's no way that I've gone through this, and I'm still here, that there's not more for me. Like, I
Yeah.
know it. And
Yeah.
I know that, we overcome by the word, and by, by the
Our testimonies. Yeah.
testimony, word of testimony, right?
Mhm.
And so I know it's not just for me, but I've never lost hope in anything that I've gone through, because
Yeah.
I believe God. That's just it. Like, I believe
Yeah.
that
That was big right there. I believe
I
God,
believe
honey.
God. That's it. I believe God, and I know that there's something more through it. And so if I'm the one who's being, used and to give this true definition and how to work through grief and trauma, who am
Yes.
I to complain? Because guess what? I promise you, I've never been without through it all. He's
Yeah.
always sustained me. And not only that, has given me abundantly above all. Right. And so I always say, it was a hard road. I don't listen. I promise you,
Yeah.
there's certain people you don't want to walk in these shoes, but because I did, and because I was able to, continue to give God glory through it all,
Yes.
he's broadening my horizon. He's broadening, opening up doors for me to be able to talk and say, guess what? You can make it through it. You can
Yeah.
get through grief. You can get through the trauma of it without bitterness and without, despair. You
Yeah.
can do it, but I couldn't do it on my own. And I tell people all the time, I don't care how much education I have, I don't care how much training I have. I've
Yes.
been trained, I've been certified, I have degrees. But if it wasn't for God and me understanding that I couldn't make it through because of him,
Yes.
I hope that I have in him.
Right.
Because faith is great, but the number one ingredient in faith is hope. Now, faith
Yeah.
is the substance of things
Things
hoped
hope
for,
for.
right? And the
Yes.
evidence of things not seen. So if I don't even have hope, I can't have faith.
Yes.
And so, I'm a very hopeful person, and I understand now. I understand now. I'm
It's
starting to
doing a
see,
journey. Yeah.
right, the journey now. But because of that, I'm able to help other people overcome, the grief that's trying to overcome them, right? That's trying to take,
Yeah.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
And we thank you for operating in your gifts,
No, thank you.
because here you are, like, you have encouraged us and empowered us here on this podcast. Do you have like some closing words you kind of want to give us? Not kind of. We need you to
Well,
give
I
us.
always try to give shout out to people.
Yes.
So, and it's so important for us as a people. And if I say that, I say a million and one times, there's nothing wrong with getting help. And And that video that you showed with Kev on stage was absolutely amazing. It showed grief, what grief really looks like. So it was put into action what grief kind of really looks like, what we think about, but we're afraid to say. And so understand that everyone may go through a grievous situation differently, and that's okay. That those 5 stages are not linear. They can be up and down. They can be, you can be smiling 1 minute, crying the next second. That's just a part of what grief is. You can be angry, all of that. Okay. So understand that that's just part of the grieving process, and that's absolutely fine. Don't wait to get help. If you feel that you know when you're just not right. You're not isolated. You're not the only one who's going through this, and you're not and don't allow yourself or the enemy to make you think that like no one is there for you, because that's a lie. And so also know that there's help out there for people from people who look just like us, right? So I am an advocate for individuals who have a wellness business, who concentrate in emotional wellness, as well as who are traumatic therapists or trauma therapists. So last week I gave you the name of Earl O'Brien. He's from North Jersey, Christian brother, but just, awesome in what he does when it comes to trauma. So he's amazing. Look him up on Instagram. His name again is Earl O'Brien, and he's a trauma therapist. The last name I want to mention is Simone Golden. Her business is called Golden TLC, and she's out of Philly. She's a mental health coach, and she does a lot. She's a wellness advocate as well, and she's absolutely amazing. You would love her. So if you need somebody that want, just more people. I always tell people, you don't have to. I'm never like, you got to come to me. I want to make sure that we have all the resources that we have, and that we need. So I throw them out there, just so we can have that. And then the last thing that I want to touch on prior to me leaving is that the holidays are coming up, and I heard you say that, and we do a lot of grief work for the holidays. And so understand again that holidays can be hard for individuals who have lost loved ones, and maybe the first time that a holiday that without that person there. And so I always try to say, be gracious to yourself. Also allow yourself to maybe try to think of something that you may want to do as a family to remember that person. And it could be something small. One of the things that I like to do is to do a love letter to that person. And just, and do it as a keepsake, and, hold it, and then just kind of, use that and pass it down generation to generation if you wanted to do it that way. And so, just making sure that you get that out of you, and then, being able to express that, right? And so I just wanted to share those little things that you can do. Make sure that you're supported during that time. Those who you know have lost someone, you guys be that support to them. Reach out, say, I'm thinking of you. Is there anything I can do to help you? Maybe send them a little card and let them know, just thinking about you. But making sure that we're taken care of, but we're also taking care of those who have lost someone, especially with the holidays coming up.
Yeah. Thank you. That was beautiful. I love that you gave us like people besides yourself, like you are spreading the information, because if someone isn't comfortable, like I think Jen said that if you're not comfortable with one therapist, you got to find a therapist that works for you.
You have to.
So I appreciate you giving other names besides yourself.
Yeah. To come in to shelter wealth, because it's so important that we, why? Because really before the pandemic, we were afraid to go to therapy. It wasn't like something that was popular. It was almost kind of like, but not me. I mean, but other people, and I understand why. But now we are able to identify and to really kind of deal with our feelings, or understand that we need help dealing with our feelings, right? And so that's what's important.
Yeah. And then we acknowledge it, and hey, go to therapy. It's okay. You know what? It's very nice. Therapy is. I like it. I want Jen to be my therapist, but I think she might think she too close, child. We'll be like Iyanla. Is that a thing? Like you're too close to the person to be their therapist?
Well, I am sometimes like I feel certain things, and there's certain people that I'll just go to. But yeah, I've heard that with me. Even when I'm coaching, like when I do coaching, depending on what the situation is, I make sure because I coach, I do coaching and counseling. I don't get into the therapy yet until I get my license. So, but what I do is I always refer out, right? But when people, even when I'm coaching, if it's too close, I'm like, like, how do you, because you never want to be subjective. Like, I never want to be like, girl, don't you? Because there's a closeness there where it's hard to differentiate the professional and personal, Kippie.
Right. Got you.
Because if you tell me something, that then I'm like, all right, all black everything, right? Now I'm doing all black everything, right?
Now I gotta fight for you. No, don't fight. I'm in here trying to get some counsel.
Right. So all that. Well, you know what? Did you consider this? And then now it's like, all right, where I gotta go, right? So it's not just you. It's I think that person who wants to continue to remain professional when they're you that is kind of hard when you have a relationship with that person to be able to put on that professional hat as opposed to that.
Okay.
Let's roll.
Right. Well, you just helped me. So where can the folks find you on your social medias?
All right. So I'm off. I am on social media for business. I just put my temporary clothes because you know what? I think it's important for you to fast or like detox from social media. So I'm actually doing a 40-day detox from social media right now. For my business, I will check, but I don't scroll or anything like that. So if you want to find me, I am on Instagram and under Coach Kippie, as well as Intentional Transitions. And the same as Facebook, I'm on there under Intentional Transitions and Coach Kippie. Please DM me or go to my email and send me my website and send me there's a place in there that you can. And if you want coaching, here's the thing. And I'm getting better with this because I'm like just but my because I don't like to charge anybody, but whenever you want, if you do want to work with me, with set goals and stuff like that, the first consultation is half an hour consultation. It's absolutely free. And so why I do that is because it's important for me to understand if I'm the right person, right coach, like you said, and if I would be beneficial to the person that I'm coaching.
Yes.
And so I try to get that information, see if we're a good fit, answer the questions, and then be able to come up with the goals and the plans from there, and then start moving forward with that coaching. So that's how I do. So intentionaltransitionsllc.com is my website, and you can get in touch with me. My number's on there too on my website. So please feel free to reach out to me, send me a message, even if you want more information on grief. If I can assist that way, please feel free. If you want me to come and talk at any churches, do workshops, I'm willing to do that as well.
Oh, someone in the comments said, hey, Tina, she said, any referrals for Florida? So are you virtual?
I am. I'm actually coaching someone that's in Texas right now.
Virtual for counseling and coaching.
Coaching, I am.
You are. Okay. So if someone who's dealing with trauma and grief, they can go to your website for that, for referral. Okay. So there you go, Tina. You can go to the website that's on the screen. And then you can get in touch with Coach Kippie, and she can help you out and give you some type of direction. Ma'am, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
You know who was on here? James Cooper. James Cooper does a youth, and he goes around to schools. I'm gonna have to connect y'all because he goes around to schools doing some encouragement and empowerment stuff for the youth.
Yes.
So I think with the trauma and the grief, I think that would be great. Here I am thinking. So yes,
that's what I work. I work with youth all day long. I just my job is with youth, ages 3 to 17, 18 if they're still in school, who have been impacted by grief and trauma as it relates to substance abuse in the home and in the community. And so my business is for adults, so I get to work with everybody.
Okay, so it's mentoring on the green. I'm gonna get y'all in the mix next week. We have Heather Roberts is here. Woo! So she is a mammographer. So we are going to talk about breasts. It is October. It is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And she has been a mammographer for a while. Like, this is what she does. She puts you in a little panini press and bop, bop, bop. So yes, so I need the moms, I need the dads. Bring your little people. Because we're going to go over the correct way to do your monthly exam. So I need the moms, the daughters, the little people who are growing these breasts. They need to know what to look for and all of that. Parents, dads, I think men need to be checking too. Men need to check for breasts, tissues and all the rest of that that's in there. So yes. So next week we are here with Heather Roberts. She will be here 6:30. Please bring your questions. She's going to have a lot of information for us, especially for our culture and how we are so fearful about going to get a mammogram. I told her when I was talking to her and I was soliciting her to come on, I said, man, I really didn't get a mammogram for like 10 years. And she was like, oh, gasping. And I was like, I know, I'm so sorry. I was scared. You know what? I was scared of the results.
Mm-hmm.
I ain't gonna lie. I was scared. I was scared of the results. I was like, if I go in here and then they find something and then I got like 2 weeks to go and I'm already at stage, whatever. So yeah, so she is going to come and help us in this Black and brown community, give us tools and help to debunk some of these fears. So yes, she will be here next week. Tune in, moms, daughters, fathers, like everyone needs to tune in because it is breast cancer and it affects us all. And I mean, even in the community, it's a bias and we don't get the correct health care we have. So we have a mammographer here who is going to help us. So Heather will be here. Yes, she will be here to help us with our breasts and what we should be doing. So I'm excited.
I am too.
Now I am not fearful to go in to the panini press and I'm just in there helping the lady turn sideways, what you need me to do. Yes. And she's going to talk about density and how that works and all the rest of that and tissue. So yes, I need all y'all to tune in next week. So thank you all for watching. Thank you all for being here. Thank you, Coach Kippie.
Welcome. Thank you,
everyone. Yes. Thank you, audience, for staying. She said, I get it, but I go. Yeah. Thank you all for watching Beyond the Surface podcast with Sharen. I am your host, Sharen. I am here just doing the Lord's work and bringing you the information. I am here to empower and encourage, enlighten and inform. And tonight, with these part 2 and part 1, we have been informed with a lot of information on grief and trauma. So Coach Kippie, thank you, girl.
Thank you. Love you.
Love you. So thank you guys for watching. Tune in next week. See y'all. Yes.